Okay, here's part 2. Okay, part 2, where I ask you to write down the formula to find surface area before we started this section. So if you remember, I told you you have the 2 ends. Remember, surface area means I want to cover it, right? All right, so I have the 2 areas of the ends of it. In this case, those are the triangles. Plus, we're going to have the 2 sides. The 2 sides of our triangle are going to be the same. The one on the front side and the one on the back side are going to be exactly the same. And they are, so we're going to say the 2 areas of the sides plus the area of the bottom. Now, why did Mrs. Turner not put a 2 there? Because there's only one bottom. If the bottom were the same as the top, we would have a rectangular prism, okay? But we have a triangle. It has a point at the top. So the bottom is flat, the top is pointed. So we only have the 5 sides to think about. Now, let's break this apart. In our surface area, again, surface area means I want to cover all the different parts like Christmas paper, okay? And I said I want to know the area of the ends. And I'm going to multiply that by 2, okay? So I understand that I'm finding surface area. I'm going to find 2 of the ends. Well, the ends are right here. What shape is that? It's a triangle. So I'm going to say base times height divided by 2. Okay? I'm going to do this. I'm going to solve it. Then I'm going to multiply it by 2. Over here, I said I'm going to make 2 of these. This is the area of the side. What shape is this side? It's a rectangle. So I'm going to say 2 times length times width. Then I have the area of the bottom. Now I can't see the bottom, but because I can see the edge here and the edge here, I know that it's what shape? It's also a rectangle. But there's only one bottom, so I'm not going to multiply it by 2. I'm just going to write length times width. Once I'm done with each one of these individual problems, I'm going to put them all together. That's going to equal my surface area. So let's go back. I've had lots of questions about this. If you have a right prism or a triangle, okay, the front and the back are shaped like a triangle. Remember, I'm trying to cover it like Christmas paper. If it's the front and the back, that's 2 triangles. How do you find the area of a triangle? Base times height divided by 2. Then we have the 2 sides. That's right here. Remember, the front side and the back side of this triangular prism are going to be the same because it's one shape. So that's going to be 2 times what's the shape? Length times width because it's a rectangle. Where did I get the 5th side? That's the bottom. There is no top. So I'm going to say, because the top is pointed, and I've already done that when I did the sides. Okay, so the bottom is length times width. Now, if I had said it was a rectangular prism, these would be the same as far as the ends. The formulas wouldn't be the same. But I'd find the ends, the front and the back, and then the top and the bottom. And we'll do one of those later. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, so we have surface area is 2 times base times height divided by 2 plus 2 times length times width plus the length times width. Now we have to go in and find all of our numbers. So let's look at the first one. We have this triangle right here, okay? And a triangle is base times height. What is the base of this triangle? If you said 5, you're wrong. Why? Because a 5 only goes from the corner to the dotted line and another 5 from the dotted line to the other corner. The base of this is the whole thing. So our base is 10. Okay, so we're going to write surface area equals bracket 2 parentheses. Okay, now we're going to say base is 10 times the height. What is your height? What's the dotted line? 12. Okay, and of course we know because it's a triangle, we're going to divide it by 2. Look at your next thing. Then we're going to say, okay, we're going to multiply this 2 times the length and the width of the side. Here's the length and your width of your side. So you're going to simply multiply it by 22 times 13. Then we have the bottom. Okay, now some of you seem to get a little confused as to where does Mrs. Turner get her numbers from the bottom. Look at this. This is the bottom of the triangle, right? So it's the bottom of our rectangular prism. This is the length of how long that bottom is. So we're going to use the bottom here, this right here, and the length. So we're going to say what? 22 times 10. Now again, we're not multiplying that by 2 because we only have one bottom there, okay? So now we have our surface area equals. We're going to say, we're going to take 2 times 10 times 12 divided by 2. So when we do that, we're going to get 10 times 12 is 120. 120 divided by 2 is 60. And 60 times 2 is 120. Okay? Then we're going to go over here to our rectangle. We're going to say 22 times 13 is 500. And then we're going to multiply that by 2 and get 570 plus, we're going to come over to the end and say 22 times 10, and we're going to get 220. Now, all we're going to do at this point is add our all together. Okay, so our surface area, we're going to take the 120 plus the 570 plus the 220, and we're going to add them all together, and we're going to see that our surface area is 912. Now, what kind of unit would I have? Surface area is our key, square feet, okay? So hopefully you got 912 square feet as well. If you had any problems, whether it was with scientific notation, finding our least common multiple, working with our powers, finding volume, or finding surface area, it's very important that you let Mrs. Turner know that, okay? Next, let's review just a little bit on this lesson today. Multiplication and division of signed numbers. I gave you an online little assignment the other day, but I didn't have you actually do the book yet, okay? So let's look at our book for just a minute. Turn to page 232, problem set 82. I know we did this the other day in class together, but I want to do it one more time because I want to remind us, okay? Because this is going to become a very foundational fact you need to know. When the signs of two numbers that you are multiplying are the same, no matter what the signs, whether they're positive or negative, if the signs are the same, the answer is positive. If the signs are different, the answer is negative. Now, what happens if you have more than two signs? You have to say, do I have an even number of negative signs, or do I have an odd number of negative signs? And I'll show you that in a little bit. But first, look at exercise, the practice set on 232. Letter A. Positive 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Negative 3 times positive 4 is negative 12. Negative 4 times negative 3 is a positive 12. Positive 4 times positive 3 is positive 12. Look at letter D. Notice there are no positive signs written, but there are no negative signs written. If there is no sign, we assume that it is positive. By the way, on your test, if you do not put a sign, I will assume that it is positive. Now, if it is positive and you wrote just a 3, you get credit. But if it was a negative 3, then you would not, okay? So if it's a negative, you must write that negative sign. Look at letter E. Positive 4 divided by negative 8. It is negative 1/2. Negative 14 divided by negative 7 is positive 2. Negative 14 divided by positive 7 is negative 2. And positive 14 divided by negative 7 is negative 2. Remember, in today's lesson, if the signs are the same, then the answer is positive. If you're multiplying and the signs are the same, your answer is positive. If you're multiplying and the signs are different, the answer is negative. Notice I keep saying that's when you multiply, not your other, not when you add and subtract, okay? But it is that when you multiply or when you divide. So if I'm dividing and both sides are positive, the answer is positive. If I'm dividing and one is positive and one is negative, the answer is negative. All right, your homework and your quiz are online today. Please make sure that you do them. And let me remind you, Those of you in the area, you need to get your papers turned into me. Those of you in Chicago, Brother David, Brother John will pick them up. If I do not get your papers, you do not get full credit, okay? If you make less than a 70% on your homework, it tells you what you got, it shows you what you got wrong. Go back and rework them if you want credit, but I need to see it on the paper as well as you just changing it on the quiz, okay? I need to see that so that I know that you're understanding the material. This quarter is completely based on what you do online, guys, so really pay attention to it and do all the different aspects, okay? I miss you. Have a good day.